which I think is the one they support there. It won't be necessarily that same person every Monday and and Wednesday, but they'll rotate because obviously they have another job besides teaching high school. And the teachers in the classroom, the teacher's responsible for classroom management, of course. And while that TSIS expert is in there who knows that field, the teacher's picking it up too. So hopefully that builds the capacity for the teacher, and it enriches the experience of the students as well. As I mentioned before, elementary schools will be added to the partnership this year. The elementary model will look a little different probably because there's so many elementary schools. So it'll be a lot about feeding resources to the schools and providing some training for the teachers, not necessarily having as many contacts from TSIS to spread across as many elementary schools that are in that partnership kind of group. Then also there's a teacher externship program that's planned, much like the students spent the summer at TSIS for, I think their program was 6 weeks. 5 weeks. The teacher externship program is looking to be about 3 or 4 weeks, or something like that. Yeah. But it's still in development. So, but that's coming. Next topic. Make sure I hit it. Okay. It's just computer science in general. And just remember that STEAM, encompasses a lot of things. Computer science is just one piece of it. Just want to point out that we do have computer science related pathways at 5 of our high schools. That's very important for our community because we have a lot of IT focused companies that hire a lot of folks. So as much as we can grow that, we want to. So those high schools that have the programs are there on the screen. Additionally, we had 3 middle schools that received computer science middle school coding grants last year, and those were Rothschild Double Churches in East Columbus. And with that $25,000, we were able to buy them a lot of supplies. We provided professional development for those teachers, and those schools are offering also now middle school level computer science courses. And then the last point under computer science is that I was invited to join the Computer Science for Georgia, or CS for Georgia consortium last year as well, and we're hopefully planning to put on a conference later on in the fall, and I'll get to that a little bit more later as well. Next slide. Just more about, even though this crosses over what we already talked about with TSIS, the TEALS program falls under computer science as an activity. Also, the state of Georgia adopted new computer science standards that go all the way down to kindergarten, and there's about 3 elementary schools that are going to have a focus on that. It's really hard to put a new thing on top of a school if they're not really motivated to do it. So we're going to try with the 3 schools that have raised their hands and said we really want to do this, and see how it goes before we try to see how we can implement it across the district. And then the summit, or the conference that I mentioned kind of briefly a minute ago, CompSciCon, is also planned for the fall. And that's going to be a conference where we're going to expose those kids who are already sort of self-selected as being interested in computer science to do some hands-on activities with some folks from around the country that, like Google, your Googles, your Apples, even local Fort Benning, TSIS, so that they can really see. They might say, I really am interested in IT, I'm interested in coding, but they don't know what that means. Like, what does that job look like? So that's part of the focus of that conference. The other part is a program called Script, and I have what it used to have what it stands for, but basically it's a program where they bring together principals, teachers, district level administrators to plan out how do we implement computer science more fully into the school district. So you have actually the national CS for All. So there's a CS for Georgia that I was invited to be a part of, and then there's CS for All, which is a national organization. They're the ones that do Script, and they would come down and kind of show us what we're doing well, and then what we can do more to embed more computer science. Next topic is STEM and STEAM school certifications. We have a few schools that are STEM or STEAM, well actually STEM certified. The schools that are currently certified are Diamond, it's a full school certification, and Hannon, which is a program, which means within the school certification. And this certification process means that not that you're doing a couple STEAM activities, you got a robotics team. It really means that you've changed the way you do business at that school, and that STEM is integrated throughout across disciplines. So it's a huge honor and a big undertaking to receive that certification. And it's not just a rubber stamp. They come down and do multiple visits at that school and make sure that they really are talking about integrated concepts in math, in science, in art, for STEAM, when they do those certifications. So we have those 2 schools that are already certified. Then Diamond is seeking STEAM, so they want to add the A to their STEM certification, and then we have a list of schools there that are trying to get STEM certified for the first time. And part of CTA department's responsibility is to support them in those efforts. Another topic under STEM and STEAM, which I know is of great interest, is the Stephen T. Butler STEAM Center. Those folks who are on the board or have seen it remember last year that we got a donation from W.C. Bradley to help support the creation of the STEAM Center, and then you all voted to name it in honor of Mr. Butler. Right now, the only 2 wings of the building are really being occupied and used, but we do have plans to upgrade the remainder of the facility over time with funding. But what has been done so far is the Division of Information Systems has done some upgrades to the wireless network, and Division of Finance is removing items because it was being used, let's just be honest, as a little bit of a warehouse. So they're clearing it out so that we can use it for other uses. And then also we're going to be working with facilities and operations to price out some of the renovations that are needed. So I'm going to take you on a virtual tour, but first I want to give you kind of like a lay of the land. So on this screen, you'll see at the top is like the 400 wing. So just keep in mind as we go through this other pictures, the 400 wing is the wing that ends with a gym. And this is the old former Muskogee Elementary, so it was an elementary school, so it's not a full-size high school gym, but it is a good-sized gym. So that's the 400 wing. It's currently occupied by Columbus Space Program. Then in the middle of the map is kind of like your 300 wing, and it ends in the Media Center. So that's another large space at the end of the hallway. So that's what I'm going to show you pictures of in this virtual tour. So we're going to start with the 300 wing, and where you see that arrow, we're going to go through that door. And when you go through that door, that's what you'll immediately see. So you'll see kind of like a desk, and then there are hallways that are going to be to your left and your right. So first we're going to go down. We're going to look to our right down that hallway. And down that hallway, there are 6 classrooms, 2, across from each other, and then it ends in the Media Center. So we're walking. Okay, and so as we go down the hallway, I didn't take a picture of every one of the rooms, but most of the rooms, actually 5 of the rooms kind of look like the one on the left, where there are some First Lego League robotics tables that are there. What we did in the past or last year is we had robotics teams come on Saturdays, and we allowed them to work together. We opened up the facility so they could work together, and so you had teams that were from different schools that could come in, and it was a good opportunity for the teachers to actually kind of talk to each other, because sometimes you might be the only robotics instructor or coach at that school, so you had a problem that you couldn't work out, and you're like, oh, I'm so glad somebody else is here who knows what I've been through. And then the kids kind of enjoyed being there and seeing other kids. But what we found was there were families that would show up, and W.C. Bradley and some of our partners negotiated with Feeding the Valley, so we were able to feed them while they were there as well. So we didn't have to pay for any of that, but we were able to give them, sandwiches and snacks. And we fed everybody who showed up, grandmas, little babies, everybody who kind of showed up to work on that. And it was great because some of the kids were too little to be on a team, but they were seeing their older brother and sister doing that, so we felt like that was a good thing. On the picture on the right is just one of the rooms that we use for kind of like training when we have small groups and teachers come in just for training purposes. And then at the end of the hall is the former media center, and we just set up, again, more tables in there and some screens so that we can use that for different training sessions when we bring the teachers in. So we're going to walk all the way back down the hallway. Oops, I'm going the wrong way. Back to that center table that when we first came in, and now we're looking to the left. And on the left, there are 2 classrooms. You see where that star is on the map. And those rooms are not being used right now, but what we want to do and what we have the ability to do is to build fields that we need for the First Tech Challenge teams. And you might see in the small little corner of that right the right pictures and boxes. Inside those boxes are the fields that are going to look like the one that's in the inset picture. So that picture is not Muskogee County. That's a picture from online. But that's what's inside those boxes, so that we'll have a place for the FTC level robotics teams to practice as well. Those fields may not look like much, but they're very expensive. So it'll be very expensive to have one of those at every single school that has a FTC team, and also it takes up space. It's 12 by 12, so it would, a lot of schools don't have a space for that to be set up and stay all the time. So now we're going to go over to the 400 wing, and this is where the Columbus Space Program is occupying. And you see on that, where that red star is, we're going to go through that middle door. So when you walk in, you're going to immediately see that middle picture. And then when you look to the left, you're going to see the entrance to the gym. If you look to the right, you're going to look down the hallway again and see 4 classrooms. So first we're going to see the gym. And it's kind of hard to get a panoramic view, but I tried to do the best I could there. And so right now, the Columbus Space Program has set up their field inside that gym, and they use that as a Destination Einstein field for practicing and scrimmaging. And they've had their signage and all their awards on the wall that we're real proud of that they've earned. Now, if we go down the hallway again towards the other classrooms, the first 2 classrooms I kind of tried to mark with a red and green star. So the red star would be on your left, and the right star is the room on the right. So they have, I think the room on the left is kind of like their build room or planning room. I don't know. There's a lot of equipment and things. I plan the stuff. I don't use the stuff. And they've cut a door through that classroom that's to the left, and then I'm going to take you in there. And that's kind of like a room that has a lot of equipment in there. There's some milling machines, and don't get me to saying the wrong names of these machines, but welding and things like that, those kinds of machines are in there. And then on the right side, there's their AFLAC boardroom, and that furniture I think was actually donated to them by AFLAC. So that's where they have their sort of business meetings and planning things and that sort of stuff. So that is the tour of the STEAM Center. And as I close, I just want to point out some of the other many varied, other supportive activities that happen with to support STEM and STEAM. Every year we send teachers to the STEAM Forum in October in Athens. We also, last year, were fortunate that the Chamber of Commerce chose STEAM Works as their theme for the year, and they sponsored some workshops that our teachers were able to participate in October and February, and then they had a STEAM Box Challenge in March. So they had a really good full year of STEAM-related activities through the Chamber last year. Also, W.C. Bradley spearheaded the River Valley STEM Leadership Council. This group is seeking to get us some funding so that we can have some private donations to support the build out of the STEAM Center. And then down at the bottom, I just have a list of some other activities that are about STEAM. This is not an exhaustive list, so if there's anybody who knows of anything that's not on this list, please know that I was not trying to list everything, because we probably wouldn't be here all night. But I just wanted to point out the Chattahoochee Valley Library has been doing the FLL Junior Expo for years and continues to do that. We have Let's Grow STEAM X, which is coming up in October, another very important activity. And of course, we get support, from Columbus State University continually for any of these kinds of efforts. So that concludes my formal presentation, but I'll be happy to take any questions you may have.
Yes, ma'am. I have some, but I want to start by saying I think that you're an absolutely amazing coordinator. You oversee an extremely complicated department, may well be the most complicated curricular department in any kind of county, so certainly to include ours. So many varied activities, so much varied curriculum. It's super complex, and I really congratulate you for all you do with that and for that.
Thank you so much.
So it's pretty amazing. I do have some questions, and one of my questions actually will take me sort of on a side street that really is not, but it has to do with my feeling that we all would like to have the ability to sort of farm out some of our work and get other people to help us. And I know, like, we have 3 region chiefs We have 3 CTAE supervisors, but there have been changes with that, and I don't mean to turn this presentation into any way kind of a controversial thing, but I understand that they went from being true supervisors paid at the high school assistant principal level to supervisors paid at the middle school level to teachers not paid at anything other than a teacher's salary, but they have 17 schools each, including all the teachers in those schools. They have any number of students that fall into those very complex programs, and it sort of gets in the way of being able to help distribute some of the work out, it seems to me. And I just am troubled by that, and I don't mean for us to have a discussion about that. I just wanted to put it out there. But I commend you on all the robotics work that's going on. That TSIS partnership is amazing. It's very amazing. The computer, I wrote down comp sci, almost said that, but the computer science partnerships and connections. I had a couple of questions about that, but I think I'll send that to you otherwise. And something about Project Lead the Way as well.
Okay.
And the STEAM Center, yes, the last thing on that is the STEAM Center. And I had talked to Dr. Lewis at one point about this, but I'm not 100% sure I'm clear on the nature of this. I noticed it was noted by asterisk that the Columbus Space Program is a semi-private company. Well, it said a semi-private company. And is anybody paid out there? Nobody's paid.
I'm not
Is it a company at all?
I don't know that much about the Columbus Space Program. I don't really feel comfortable. I mean, I'm not qualified to be the one to answer those questions about Columbus Space Program.
That is a separate organization that has use of our facility.
Oh, okay.
And regarding the personnel question, Dr. Lewis will follow up
Sure.
on
Okay.
that. Ms. Thomas wouldn't be able to
Sure,
answer that.
sure. Yeah,
But
that's
you're
why I said I
right.
wanted-
You're absolutely right. The Columbus Space Center is a separate organization, and they secure their own funding to operate.
Yeah.
But the vast majority of the students are Muscogee County School District, and they are attritioning out anybody who's not, so they will fall under our complete auspices as a school district entity.
And I would also add that I always like to say that I want to see every one of our schools have robotics teams, and it looked like that's really happening because I think every single one of our schools are individually capable of doing it, and that goes to prove it, I believe. We don't have to farm it under to one person, under one group. We can have
Do it
every
ourselves.
Do it ourselves. Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. And then Ms. Chambers.
Yes, the presentation is just wonderful. I love it. But I do have a question. The Stephen T. Butler STEAM Center. I was kind of under the impression that that was for like all students, all children, the neighborhood. Is that where we're going? Well, like last year they had, not this summer that just passed, but they had the summer camp. Did they have
Right.
a summer camp?
They didn't have a summer camp this year. People could have had a summer camp. I think what happened with the Boy Scouts did that summer camp, and they had a change in leadership. There was a gentleman that used to be very passionate that was in a position, and he's no longer in our community. Yeah.
When is it going to be open to the public, like the neighborhood kids, or
No,
do we not?
I don't know that we ever were going to have it open to,
No.
I don't know if that was the plan, have it open to neighborhood kids just to come, like as an after-school program or something like that. But it's the way we're using it now because we don't have funding to have it staffed. There's nobody there right now. Like if you were to go over there right now, unless somebody's over there working on robotics, there's nobody there, and there's nobody there during the day. So we would open it, like I said, on Saturdays and things like that for the robotics teams and anybody who wanted to come could come. I mean, they had to be with a teacher and be part of a robotics program. But it's open in that sense. But until we have the funding, to have a staff there, we won't be able to open it, you know what I mean, and just have it, yeah.
I think, Ms. Jackson, it was originally we originally had an understanding that schools will go like field trips during the
Right,
day to
right.
expose all of the students
Right.
of Muskogee County, but to open it up to the public with that level of equipment was not.
Right, that was.
I was just thinking
not the
like
plan.
on a Saturday or something, someone would be there so that those kids can go. And
That's
then-
certainly something that could possibly be done. But once again, we're not even to the point where, like Ms. Green was saying, where we could even have the schools coming there for a field trip yet. We just gotta have enough money to have a staff, you know, and we don't have.
Do you have like a budget of what you're trying to, that you need to get it up and running?
I can write a budget, but I mean, as far as
Do you
having
have
funds.
how to find the money
you know,
you
right,
need?
there are no funds, I guess. Right now, we have the donation.
Just the donation
That was
from-
given by W.C. Bradley, and what we've used that money, just so the public will know, what we've used that money for so far was just to pay for students who couldn't afford to participate in robotics. That's the only thing we've used that money for at all. So when they've gone on trips and they needed money for food or anything like that, that's the only thing we've used that money for. So we have 95% of the money still that we haven't used yet, because it wouldn't be prudent at this point to spend the money and put a virtual reality lab in there, and then you got kids that can't even participate in the lowest level of what we're trying to do with robotics. So until we can get an infusion of more funds, you know, we haven't really spent a lot of money on equipment or anything like that. Uh-oh. Okay.
Oh, so my question is similar to Ms. Jackson's question. I want to get a better understanding of how we're using the STEAM Center. I was going to ask you about usage and how many kids were able to take advantage of this awesome opportunity, but I think I hear you saying we haven't gotten to that point yet.
Yes, ma'am, we have not.
But at the same time, I guess as a board, we would like to hear about what the plan is for how we're going to make it useful. We were all really excited about opening the STEAM Center, and now we want to make sure that the children are able to use it.
Right.
And I thought they would be able to definitely get in there this year and sort of use all of this awesome equipment. So who is actually using the building then if our students have not had the opportunity? Is anyone using the space?
There is really no equipment in the STEAM Center in the 300 wing, right?
Okay.
Except for like a little bit of extra robots, you know, things like that. There's no major equipment in the wing right now. Now in the 400 wing, which is the Columbus Space Program, now they have some equipment that is used, but it's used during their I wouldn't want to ask Ms. Deal to come up with, I know she's involved, but I mean, it's used during their season when they're building the robots, because they're at the highest level of robotics, so a lot of the things that they're building, they actually make from scratch.
Oh, okay.
So they have machines in there where they can weld and they can mill things out or whatever. So it's not, it's not like a maker space in the sense of we're just making things and entrepreneurial. They're doing it for their robotic season.
Okay, so this is a separate company, and they sort of have their own program, and it has nothing to do with us?
Correct.
They're renting space from us or something?
They're not even
No.
renting, that you're absolutely correct.
No, it's
We're
not a separate
giving them
company. It is
space.
part of, we still, the majority of the students are from Columbus High School, from Hardaway High School. We have a couple from Spencer, I believe, and then we have an independent from another district or a private school that is with us. They are, as I mentioned before, their direction is to move toward being a Muskogee County School District, and we just wanted to throw the student out of the opportunity to be with us. But they will become solely our Muskogee County School District. All of their funding and everything will go through our channels, through our accounting process, all of that.
But not at this time, to answer the question.
Correct.
And our students have not had an opportunity to use the facility yet, not at this time.
Okay.
And so the question was, what are our
How do we
plans
get from
going
A and
forward?
B?
So
Yeah.
the Lego scrimmage with the robots going forward.
Right. We are going to continue to open up the facility on weekends or evenings for first robotics teams to practice and scrimmage against one another. So that will, in a sense, opens it up to all students participating in the district, because they're free to join a robotics team in any school that they, that they want to participate in. In the future, I mean, and I don't want to get too beyond, but the STEAM Center currently is on a project that's a part of the pipeline projects that the cabinet, I guess, discusses. And so we are in the process of updating the plans that were originally brought in front of you, where we build out and plan usage of the building. But I don't want to speak too much on that. I'm not a member of the cabinet.
Understandable.
But I am the project lead.
Absolutely.
So once we get to the point where we have an updated plan, I'm
You'll
sure we
get
can
it
bring
to
that
us.
back at
Okay.
that time.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to that. I think it'll be a great program. I wanted to, though, say to Dr. Lewis, does this company charge the students anything? Or is it free for those students that participate?
It is free to them to participate. They solicit donations for equipment, tools, in-kind services from Charbroil, for example, to come in and work with the students as they help to build and develop their robots for competition.
Okay.
They have to
Sounds good.
apply to be part of the program too, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And who's making the selection on which students are chosen? Is that the company who's doing that as
No,
well?
the instructor,
Same
Luther
thing.
Richardson, who is an instructor at Columbus High School, and his assistant is Cora Suggs
Okay.
at Hardaway High School.
Okay, great. I'd just like to hear more about how this is going to work, and how we're going to get this private company to become a part of Muskogee County School District to service our Muskogee County kids, and how soon can we sort of make that happen, where our students are able to partake and use it, utilize it like we originally planned.
Well, let me just clarify something. The vast majority, like as in 98% of the students are Muskogee County school students,
Right.
school district students, and they are eligible to participate.
Bless
As
you.
I said, they have open invitation for students to come from anywhere in the district. And they, in the past, they've had Columbus High School, they've had Hardaway, Spencer, I think they've had some Carver students involved in the process over the years. So it is open to.
But the difference is, they do not represent their school. They represent
Columbus Space, yeah.
Columbus Space.
Right.
That's the difference, and that is not a part of Muskogee County right now. And so I think the goal is to move towards Muskogee County having a high school robotics
Yes.
program at that highest level. But right now, the fact is just the fact. That is not a part of Muskogee County. We don't have that yet, but we are moving towards that. Now,
Yeah.
my question is, there was at least one meeting where there were other companies other than TSIS around the table to participate in growing and sharing in us doing this K-12 initiatives. Are those meetings still occurring? Have those partnerships fallen off, or where are we with that?
The partnerships haven't fallen off. We haven't been meeting. W.C. Bradley formed the River Valley STEM or STEAM Leadership Council, and they sort of said they wanted to take the helm of corralling all of the partnerships. And as recently as last week, I was told that we're getting ready to send something out about a meeting. So I haven't, they've kind of taken the lead on that. Now, we can refocus and start to call those meetings ourselves, but it just seemed at the time when it did have momentum, that it had momentum, and it,
Right.
within number of things that we have to do, or at least I can only speak for myself, have to do, it was a welcome offer for them to take the lead in planning those partnership meetings and bringing those people together.
I don't think it's necessary to recreate the wheel. I think it's
Right.
just important for us to, if they,
Make sure they're still-
if they have taken that lead, then we need to engage ourselves
Right.
in
We need to have a
partnering
seat
and
at the table.
participating with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Need to maybe not be responsible for coordinating and
Right.
setting it up, but at least have a seat at the table
Oh,
so
yes,
we
ma'am.
know,
I mean,
what's
they just
going
have
on.
not met. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm there when they've met. They met about 3 times last year, but I'll be honest, the meetings were really organizational, and they weren't
Right.
really moving forward because it was different people
Yeah.
every time. I consistently went to all three.
Okay.
But I was about, other than the person who was throwing them, I was about the only person that was consistently there.
Consistent, yeah.
But there, we had participation from Pratt & Whitney, TSIS, of course, W.C. Bradley, Boys and Girls Club, Boy Scouts, CSU, those kind of
Sounds
groups,
good.
yes.
Sounds good. Yeah.
And as far as moving, again, just to reiterate, all the funding, contributions, donations, whatever it might be, is now going through Columbus High School's activity fund. Everything is residing there, and it's part of our internal audit process.
And I wanted to say again, this, to go back, it's a few minutes back now, but this is one reason I want every school to have their own and not operate out of one place. And I do want to say that I presume we're talking about the River Valley STEAM leadership.
Right.
STEM leadership. I'm on that. They asked me
Right.
to be on that before I came on the board, and we haven't met since whenever, and it was really organizational, like,
Right.
and I sort of lost. But okay, whenever they meet again, we'll see.
All right, are there any other questions for the STEM update?
It's
Mr. Doug?
excellent. I'm sorry. Who's ever keeping the building, looking at the pictures, the building looks fantastic.
Yeah, it
It really
does.
does,
And Mr.
inside and
Goldberg
out.
and
Thank
his
you,
team
Plant
for that.
Services.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
excellent job through it.
Award Odom.
It does. I kept looking at those floors and they're just shining all over the
Yeah,
place.
the whole building does.
Good
So
deal.
Great
Yeah.
job, guys
Thank you.
and ladies.
Yes.
Right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great job. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Ms. Thomas.
Appreciate it.
Keep going, yes. You're 4.03 on, with your mic.
We're on the strategic waiver?
4.03, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, 4.03, oh, I'm sorry. 4.03 involves the, our strategic waiver. It's being amended to incorporate the requirements for the College and Career Academy for Jordan Vocational High School. And
Thank you.
Go.
I'm Tim Benson. I'm the CEO of Jordan Vocational High School, College and Career Academy. I have with me tonight Russ Moore, who is our consultant as we work through this application process. As you very well know, and I've discussed with most of you, the plan, and that is to apply for a $3 million grant. That is a bricks and mortar grant. So basically, and we have our fingers crossed, we are applying for this grant and we're going through the process. So the ask tonight is to simply ask that we amend the SWISI contract for the district to include Jordan Vocational High School as a college and career academy. What that does for us is that gives us 4 additional points on the grant. I can tell you this, that there's $12,000 total for the state for 2 grants. There are 3 other districts just like us who are in year 2.
12, not 12,000.
I'm sorry, 6 million, 3 million each. So a little correction there, just a slight correction of digits, right? So $3 million each is the grant. We have 2 grants available this year. And so the ask is to obviously give us the most benefit of points and is to amend this. So I have Russ here as well who can take some questions if you have any. I can take some questions if you have any.
Just for clarification, SWISI, that's an acronym for the Strategic Waiver School District. And we can't vote tonight. No, we have to actually take action next Monday during the action meeting, but this is, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Are there any questions before we see this again next week?
I'd vote for it tonight.
Okay, thank you.
All right. That was it. Thank you.
thank you. Okay, and our final item is a review of our nutrition program. We're reviewed every 4 years, and that review will be in December, and we have someone who's going to tell us about it.
Good evening. Susan Slater, Director of School Nutrition. This year, school nutrition will be under our USDA administrative review. And like Ms. Buckner said, it comes around about every 3 to 4 or 5 years. It's handled by the USDA and the Georgia Department of Education. There's a team that will come in, probably around 8 individuals that will come in December the 9th, the week of December the 9th through the 13th, and they will look at all aspects of our program. And I mean all aspects of our program. 6 schools will be selected to be under the concentrated review, and the teams will go into these schools and look at, make sure that everybody is following the rules and regulations set forth by the USDA. When we get the final word of which schools these will be, we will get with the region chiefs and the principals and the school nutrition teams at those schools to make sure that they have everything they need and are prepared for when the team comes in December. There will be an entrance interview with Dr. Lewis and Mr. Goldberg on Monday, December the 9th, and then an exit interview on Friday, the 13th, and that's when they will go over. Oh, thank you. I didn't even pick up on that. Well, that just makes it even better, you know, if we live through this. But they will go over the commendations or any findings that we're looking at. No findings at all, but you know, sometimes you know how auditors are. They'll find something that we might need to have some corrections on, but we're hoping we'll have a really good review. Some of the focal points that they'll be looking at, the school breakfast program, the National School Lunch Program, the after-school program. They will be coming in, they said August and September. I have not heard from the team yet to look at all of our procurement. They will look at all of our bids, making sure that everything that we purchase is bid properly in our contracts for the whole year. The fresh fruits and vegetable program that we run in 4 of our elementary schools, they will be auditing that program. The seamless summer feeding program, they will be coming back next summer to do the audit for the summer feeding program. They will be looking at all of our accounting, accounts payable, accounts receivables, financial statements. I've already emailed Ms. Thornton to let her know that they will be asking to pull records for certain things with that. They will be looking at all of our free and reduced meal applications and all the CEP data to make sure that we followed all of the federal guidelines when we're processing those forms. Claims for reimbursement, meal counting, production records, anything, purchasing of the food, anything that goes along with that, meal planning. Nutrient analysis in the menus. They will make sure that we're following all of the guidelines, meeting those weekly calories and sodium levels and all that we have to meet. Smart snacks. These are the smart snacks sold by School Nutrition and by the schools. The School Nutrition smart snacks fall under our a la carte items. So they can go into the schools, not even just these 6 schools, but any of the others too, and ask to see their records that they've been keeping for on smart snacks. Competitive food sold in schools, and if everyone is following the regulations on that. So they will be asking the principals if they can see their documentation on any items that are being sold. The wellness policy to include the district and the school levels. They'll be looking at our meetings and our minutes and any activities that we've been doing. And pre-K meals, those elementary schools that do have pre-K programs, they will be looking to see if the children are commingled during meal service. If they eat with others in the cafeteria at the same time, we're good to go with the menus that we have. If they're broken out and they come in by themselves to eat, then we have to follow the pre-K menu. So there's a lot going on, and we are working every day trying to get ready for this. Any questions?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. One is, you mentioned fresh fruit and vegetable program
Yes.
at 4 of the elementary
Yes.
schools. Which 4 schools have that program?
Davis, Diamond, St. Mary's, and Waddell.
Okay, great. And do you know offhand the percentage of students we have on free and reduced lunch?
We won't know for school year 20 until after the count on October 31st,
Okay.
but it's running right around 79%.
Oh, okay. So that's an increase, right?
Mhm.
From years before?
Anyone
Is that
else?
a trend? Is that increase a trend?
It seems to be yes.
Thank you for your presentation. There's a question that really doesn't have to do with it that just came back to my mind, and I think I sent an email to Dr. Lewis and we talked about it, and I don't know that this is a thing that the county can control, but if not, what could we do? You know, food that's left at the end of the day, could we package it and send it home to students that need it? I know we can't do that, and that's not a local decision, right? That's a state decision, is that correct? Federal decision?
Public health,
Oh, really?
yes.
Well, how is it that there are numbers of states and regions that are doing that, if it's a federal
Yes, there was a
regulation?
news article, I believe it was around January or February of last year.
Yeah,
There was a school district up in Indiana somewhere that, and I'd have to pull it back up now, that was doing that. But what they were doing is they were giving all of their leftovers to a commercial organization, and that was who was repackaging the meals.
okay.
It wasn't, I don't know what the name of it was, but it wasn't the school district actually doing it, but it
wasn't?
was
Okay.
they were actually giving those leftover products to this company to repackage. Of course, when you get into something like that, then you have to worry about, was that food kept in the temperature zones and, you know, the handling of it and, right. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Green,
Thank you,
that concludes the education committee.
Okay, policy, there are 2 items there. First is the tobacco use revision policy that we've been looking at for a little bit. I think this runs out to 30 days so that we could vote on it next month. Were there any comments or questions about that? I do have one just for clarification from myself. As I sat more and thought about it, is it the case, okay, here's a scenario. An employee has shoulder surgery. That can be kind of painful. I'm understating. That's painful. And so they give them pain meds and they go home for a while, heal up, and they're able to come back to work, but they're still on medication. Does this prohibit them from being at school because they're on that pain med? No?
No.
Okay. And on the issue of the CBD oil, which I know some people use for arthritis kind of stuff, is that prohibited?
For employees?
Yes.
I don't believe as long as it's under prescription, I don't believe that'd be a problem, but I have to check that, verify that.
Okay. I was just curious. Somebody asked me, and I said, well, I don't know. Let me ask. I know it's like less than 0.3%, or is, hold on.
I think, again,
Less
as
than-
long as it's under prescription and that kind of thing,
Standard CBD oil is derived from hemp. It's not, it has none of the THC hallucinogenic products that
Right.
you would think of with
That's-
cannabis.
That's true, but it's in here not that way.
On the e-cigarettes?
Well, if you read the policy, print the policy and look at, it has blah, 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 or under any mind-altering substance or intoxicant, illegal or legal, specifically including any product with cannabidiol, CBD, whether hemp or cannabis, and regardless of the amount of THC in the product to the extent to which it is legal or illegal under state law.
But the THC is illegal.
Well, yeah, but 0.3% or less under the cannabidiol is, I think, by the state, okay. But this,
I think there's two different kinds of cannabidiol.
yeah, well, the
The
chemicals-
derivative of hemp doesn't have that .3.
Right, and I'm not even arguing about
Yeah,
whether the THC
because I know a
piece-
lot of people that take it.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, I understand that,
This
but I'm not arguing
policy-
about that. I'm saying,
And
it
it's not,
says
it's not a
CB.
prescription item. It's not
No, you can
done-
get it on Gentian Boulevard at some.
Well, there's that too.
But
I
it
mean,
does say it's
I only know that
prohibited.
because the person who asked me this question apparently got it there.
A friend, yeah, I know.
No, I won't claim a friend either. But, yeah, I was just wondering, because it does say CBD without regard to source, and
Yeah.
This
frankly,
came directly from GSBA, and I know that our legal firm has looked over this. I will get clarification, but there's a reason they have it written expressly, specifically as it is.
but,
Well, and it
Yeah.
does specifically say unlawful use of it.
yeah, and if the source actually doesn't matter, because if it's called CBD, then the chemical structure is the same no matter source, even if it's made in a lab. So, anyway, but yeah, I'd like a real clarification about that, too. Okay, sorry. And the next one is board policy revisions, which have to do with instruction scheduling and graduation requirements. These are sent out, coming out from the state board, if correct?
Specifically around dual enrollment,
Yeah.
yes.
And so we're certainly okay with all of our schools sending kids out on joint enrollment, yes?
All but Columbus High School.
And tell me again their reason for that.
They are an advanced placement school, and that's just been part of their magnet.
Okay. Because, I mean, you can go to college and take the course and not need to fool with the AP class.
But there are differences.
Yeah, the college class is the higher level.
There would be debate about that, but nonetheless,
Well, you can get an S or a U.
yes, we will have that discussion later.
Well, we're going to
Sure.
have it out here one day. So-
Well, ultimately, in either case, the parents are making a decision.
Well, they are.
For their
they are.
children.
But if it were an AP course could get you college credit in the same way a college course could, that would be okay. APs, you get S or U's, which don't count into the college GPA. But
The argument for AP will be that some out-of-state universities don't accept dual enrollment credit for face value, and so
And
that's
that
the
is
reason.
true.
So there's a difference, and there's a benefit to both. Just simply saying that for some
That's why
students,
the parents will
make the
decide.
choice, right?
Yeah.
And the reason I also bring this up is that if, like the last year I scheduled at Northside, I had 22 kids coming in as seniors from Columbus. And according to the state, if you walk in at the senior level, you can become the valedictorian for that school, even if you've never been there before. So that worries me for the populations of the schools that might have receiving seniors. Okay. Thank you.
That
Any
could-
other discussion?
That could become an issue, but
Mhm.
Ms. Bowman?
I was listening to what
Dr. Edmondson?
Dr. Edmondson was saying. And, of course, these people, they identify their magnets and they get their rules and, but I was thinking what he said, the last thing that he said could become a problem where a person leaves one school and go to another school and becomes, and is eligible to be, the vow. Do we have any rules toward that? Because I know the school I worked at last year, they had rules that you can't just walk, you had to be there so many years. Do we, I don't know, it's just something to think about, I don't know if we have any.
The state requires that if they're an in-district student, they reside in the district, and they're not coming from an outside the district, that they would be able to be they would be considered in the Val or Sal process. That's a part of the dual enrollment rule and
So what
law.
about those coming from a non-dual enrollment school? Can that person still be considered a vow?
No, it doesn't. It's a school within the district, doesn't dictate whether they're dual enrollment or non-dual enrollment. It's just a school within the district.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Edmondson. Dr. Sly, there are no items for the Discipline Committee? No items? All right, next Property Committee, Ms. Chambers.
Okay, 7.01 is the library report, and it is attached. We talked last month about the fact that the Chattahoochee Valley libraries will no longer charge for fines for overdue materials. And there are a couple of other things that I won't read to you, but I do want to make one distinction. It says our South Columbus, our South Branch was voted as the 2019 Ledger Enquirer Reader's Choice Award winner for the category of favorite museum or educational outing. Is that correct? Okay, very good. So congratulations, kudos to our library. Okay. Moving right along, 7.02, the museum report. I'm sorry.
Ms. Chambers.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to ask a question about the fines and overdue, because.
Yes, ma'am.
And it has to go directly to you. I remember when my kid was in the school system, and in the high schools, sometimes there are not enough books, and they actually use the books in the library. The library has a lot of the required reading, and so a lot of kids, especially kids who probably didn't have enough source of income, they would put their names on a waiting list so that after a certain amount of time, the child is eligible for the book, the child who has been on the waiting list. So the overdues, and I'm not thinking about the fines, I'm thinking about the overdues. When a book is on a waiting list, does the child who has the book, is he required to turn that book in when somebody is on waiting list for?
If you are in possession of a book that is on hold for somebody else, you're not allowed to renew that book anymore, even though we now have automatic renewals.
All right.
But I can't physically go to the house and take that book from that child.
Right.
So we would hope they want to come back and use the library again some other time. Eventually, they get billed for the book if they don't return it, just like we do now.
But if they bring it, but when they finally bring it back, they have no fees.
That's correct. Nationally, it's been determined that overdue fines are not a deterrent to people bringing books back.
Right.
Yeah.
That was on here, I just didn't.
No, I would just.
Hey, I owed $9. I owed $9 until about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Since you're at the mic, Mr. Harkness.
Yes, ma'am.
So the $7 that I currently owe
Go,
for KJ's book.
go look, it's gone.
It's gone.
Yes, ma'am. As of August 1st.
The book is back. I just,
Yeah, we just want the book back. As of August 1st, all those fines have been wiped.
Excellent. I love it. Yes. Dr. Edmonds.
Yes, and as long as you're there, first off, I think you do a great job. The library system does a tremendous job.
We have a great team.
You do.
Yes.
And I want to especially call out, not that the others aren't equally deserving, but Ms. Bunn down at Mildred Terry.
She's special.
She is absolutely tremendous.
is good.
And which brings me to, she does a lot of outreach of other kinds, but of course I focus on the sciencey piece that looks like robotics. And so I know you do at the main library, you had the Lego Leagues, and she does there. Does South and North Columbus also do, library branches do stuff?
Each of our branches sort of tailors what they do to the communities that they're serving, so it's all a little bit different.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions about the library? Okay, the next report is for the museum, and there were 5,800 visitors for the month of July. And for the month of August, I just want to point out that there's a new exhibition coming. It's called Pride of the Swift Growing South, Tuskegee Institute Photography. And this is a piece that is the work of 3 important Tuskegee Institute photographers, and it is on loan from the Tuskegee University Archives, and it has not previously been viewed by the public. So that is a treat coming to our city August the 24th. You'll also see a calendar attached of July activities. Okay, that concludes the museum report. Any questions, comments about the museum? Okay, hearing none, I'll move on to 7.03. This is a updated surplus properties list, and I'm going to read them to you, and then I have a question myself about one of them. The first one is 30th Avenue Elementary School. The second one is Rose Hill Center. The third one is Rosemont Elementary School. The fourth one is Tillinghurst. The fifth one is the old Woodall Building. The sixth one is the old Spencer High School. The seventh one is the parking lot next to Hannon. And number 8 is Waverly Terrace, the Early College Academy. And number 9 is land right off of Rigdon Road. So this is a list of properties that the superintendent is asking the board to approve for surplus properties. That has to be done before a piece of property is sold. My question is about the parking lot next to Hannon. Can you tell me, if I remember correctly, there was a parking lot next to Hannon on the right-hand side that was very, very close to the playground and to the back door of the cafeteria.
No, that's not the one we're talking about.
Okay, very good.
You know where Buck Ice building over by Hannon?
Mm-hmm, yes.
It's directly behind Buck Ice and behind the church, the little tiny little brick church there. We actually rent that parking space to that church for like $1 or something. It's maybe as big as this piece of carpet out in front of
Okay.
here. We'd love to get rid of it with all these, but that one is particularly just a little piece of dirt about as big as this area right here. So
Okay.
it's not much. I
But
didn't even know we
it's
owned
not
it
that
until about
close
a year
then
ago.
to the school.
No,
That's a
ma'am, it's
different
across the
location.
street. It's across the street from the school. It's directly behind Buck Ice.
Okay, that's perfect. I
And
have
Buck
no
Ice
problems
doesn't want
with
it
that.
either. I already tried that.
Okay. Okay. So that is a list of the 9 properties we are going to be asked to act on next week to make surplus properties. Any questions about that? Hearing none, that concludes the property committee.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Cantrell, Construction Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Let me pull it up on my computer here. This is an updated construction status report. If you had a chance, I've viewed several of the schools in the last week. Kendrick High School, of course, they had the groundbreaking this week, and it was just, it's just amazing. I mean, really, when you sit there and look at the advances and how much improvement has been done all the way across Columbus, Georgia at our schools, it just makes you proud. And then we had, I believe tomorrow, and of course, any Jordan Vocational High School, we've got the groundbreaking tomorrow, I believe at 5:30 over at Jordan for the new girls softball field down there, and just the whole complex though, really when you see it, it just blows you away to think of it. The only question before you come up here, David, Shaw High School, I toured it, and its facility is just beautiful. It really is. The paint job on the front of the school where the red is fading off.
Going to be turned gray.
Fantastic. That was the only concern, not concerned, but the only thing I saw that really, everything looked so stunning, and that was the only thing that had a deterrent look to it.
Starting on in a couple of weeks.
Okay. You want to start a list right there for David? Show us? Thank you, sir.
Dave Goldberg, Chief Operations and Facilities Officer. Here's our completed Splosh construction project highlights. This hasn't changed. So this is the new drama addition at Shaw High School. It's now completed. It's probably the last time I'll show a picture of this one. This is in the back of Shaw High School, the new wrestling and weight and activity room. We just have a few little details on the inside of that building, but it really looks great. Really going to be a nice functional area for the students, so we're just about finished with that one as well. Baseball field is completed.
Beautiful.
Softball field's completed. A couple of tiny little things to do with the softball field, but it's basically completed. So now we're over at Kendrick High School Athletic Complex. As Mr. Cantrell said, we had our, it's completed. We had our ribbon cutting ceremony there, and we appreciate the board members who could be there. We had a nice crowd, and Kendrick did a really good job, put on a good show for us over at Kendrick. Oh, and Dr. Lewis threw out the first pitch. I don't know how that got on there.
It was a strike. I'm going to tell you right now, it was a strike.
We paid off the umpire. So now we're over at Jordan High School. You can see the baseball batting cage is almost, batting building is almost complete with some work on the inside we still have to do. Jordan High School softball field, as Mr. Cantrell said, tomorrow we're having our ribbon cutting. And Mr. Battles, that's it. What time is the ribbon? Is that 5? Is that correct? 5 o'clock. Okay, so that is correct. Welcome everybody to come to that. So we're excited about things winding up at Jordan
How
High
are
School.
you, how do we notify the public of these, like for the softball? What constituencies are being informed about it? Because I know somebody from the SPOS committee didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, Ms. Parham has put that out to all the news organizations, so that's how we get that out there.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to stay at Jordan High School for a second. I'm going to kind of go off the beat of the SPLOSH projects. Our Plant Services Department outsourced the cleaning of the Jordan High School.
Wow.
I've got some before and after pictures I wanted to show everybody. So you can tell which one's the before, I hope, on that picture right there. And there's another one. You can just tell it's such a big difference. If you've drove by Jordan, the whole, it really looks good. It's looking a lot better. We're starting the new back parking lot in a couple of weeks. And we've already done the courtyard area or between the cafeteria and the building. It's all now concreted in. So it's really taking a lot of pride in what's going on over at Jordan right now. So I just want to throw those pictures in so people can see what else we've done over there at Jordan.
It's a phenomenal difference.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I drive by it every day on the way to the phenomenal.
It's really getting there. We got a few more things that we'd like to do to beautify the whole campus, but we're getting there. So now we're over at Columbus High School baseball, softball field. We had the grand opening of that. They had their first game over there, and it's really a beautiful setup with this baseball, softball combination over there. And Dr. Lewis and Dr. Crumbs got to throw the first pitch of that one over there.
2 strikes there.
So now we're in the auditorium at Columbus High School. You can see in the back there, I wanted to show the picture at the back because that's the new sound booth that they have. They've never had a sound booth at Columbus High School before. It really looks good, and the only thing we're really waiting on now is a few little details and then the stage curtains, and we'll be completed with the renovations over there. Huge difference in the auditorium at Columbus High School, so we're excited about that. Now we're over at Northside High School, the athletic fields. Made some huge progress in the past few weeks over at Northside High School. We're just waiting for the asphalt to cure so we can put the top coat on the asphalt and stripe it, and then the track will be ready. But the grass is growing in quite well, and it really looks good over there. Nice improvement.
Is that real turf or artificial turf?
That's real turf.
I thought we were going to artificial turf. No?
Not on the practice ones. So over at Hardaway, we're still right in the middle of this project. We have the baseball field completely torn up, trying to get it ungraded and get all the grading exactly right over there so we can get some grass back on the ground over there. So that's the baseball field. And then we're still working on the new building over at the softball field and the batting building as well. Something else that we haven't really talked about while we have been working on the roof at Lonnie Jackson Academy. We've got the roof on. We got to finish the soffits and the downspouts, and then we'll be leaving Lonnie Jackson roofing project and moving on to some more roofing projects. So we're happy that Lonnie Jackson isn't leaking anymore. It's been leaking for the 4 years I've been here, so we're glad it's not leaking anymore.
That's good.
So. Upcoming project, we're still working on the system-wide stadium project, and as always, we thank our citizens for passing a splosh. We can't do any of these projects without our splosh, so we appreciate that penny on every dollar that we get from that vote. So thank you very much.
Any question, Ms. Chambers?
Just a quick question. How far are we on that project? Are we still in the planning phases for the athletic complex?
Yeah, we're still in the planning stages. We we got a preliminary budget in, and we're still looking at grading plans and all the details so we can really nail it down and get it exactly right, so.
Do you know what the status of the autism wings for the elementary school is?
Dr. Lewis could probably answer that one better than me.
Yeah, we're looking at where we can locate them. We're looking at, probably we'll need to actually do 2 of them. So we're in the process of looking at where the best location is with availability.
When do you anticipate having that information?
Probably by October.
Thank you.
Mike?
Yes, several things. One is congratulations on all the projects. They look great. Also, I got nothing but good remarks back on the busing this time. I know that falls under you as well, and I've heard nothing but good stuff about how the busing situation worked this time. So that's terrific. At the opening of school, yes. And there are three things I did have a question about. So up at Double Churches Elementary, as long as I've known of it, it's been the parking lot or parking area that's to the left of the building among the trees. It's gravel and dirt. Are there any plans to pave that at any point?
Well, we don't have any specific plans right now to do that, but it is on a list that we have that we're planning for our future SPLOST referendum that comes up. We're working on a big, long wish list right now, and it is on that.
And next thing is, it was told to me that there are 2 high schools, Northside and Carver, that don't have LED lighting on the stage. Are there any plans to put LED lighting on those 2 stages?
I'd have to check and see if that is accurate first, but we have been retrofitting LEDs everywhere we can in our large spaces in all of our schools.
Northside. And the final thing is, just to mention it, is, and I know Dr. Lewis is looking around, but there's the hygiene project that's going on. Do you have any good feel for where that might be and when it would be ready?
I know about the hygiene project. I've been working with Ms. Dawkins on trying to find a space for her to store some of that stuff. Storage space for us right now is at a premium, so we've been trying to find her a space, and we're working on that with Ms. Dawkins.
Maybe we should look at the surplus list.
Yeah, like the old Spencer High School.
Well,
I don't know.
We are using Spencer High School for storage.
The old early college.
And going down, well, we're really trying to get that sold if we start putting more stuff in there.
If we need storage.
Are we renting storage?
No.
We're not renting a whole, so that's all been discontinued?
We are
Because I
not
know
renting. We
we
are
used to
not
rent over there next to, I guess, the River Mill.
No, we are not renting any storage.
So now we're.
But if we need storage for storage of our students' products, maybe we should take one of those facilities off the surplus list and designate it for storage.
We don't need storage that bad.
Well, we pay.
We have,
I know this
instead of-
program needs storage.
I agree, but I don't know that it needs an entire school. I think that we do have some rooms available still out at the Marshall Center. Nothing upstairs, nothing upstairs. What's upstairs? The whole upstairs? The high school area, okay. What about at the Muskogee Center?
The front wing up there, the Muskogee Elementary School, we are currently preparing for Head Start to move in there because we have to take them out of their building to build a new stadium. So they'll be using the Head Start, using that whole front wall.
Well, y'all have to figure that out.
We are figuring it, we are.
Figure it out.
We are.
Is there any storage space here in this building?
No, ma'am.
Just a
We'll
thought.
find a place for Ms. Dawkins, no problem. It'll be nice.
Sooner than later would be nice since school
Yeah,
started.
exactly, sooner than later.
Any more questions? Thank you, David. Madam Chair, that's all for the Construction Committee.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Personnel?
9.01, we have 3 attachments. Are there any questions?
I just have
Mine
one.
is just a general, not necessarily about detachments. I I want to know what's our status now in terms of how many positions are open, special ed and regular. Look at you, I see you getting ready for it.
Well, I was getting ready to report that at the end
Oh,
of
I'm
my
sorry.
superintendent's report, but that's okay.
Okay, you can, if you
Just
want to.
I'll let you know, we have, as of right now, we have, well, I shouldn't say as of right now, because we've been filling constantly, but at the time this report was run, we had 45 total vacancies, all inclusive of every vacancy, special ed, regular, and so on. We have processed, to date, 287 teachers, 240 supplemental, and 11 subs, 2 community coaches, for a total of 465 transactions in personnel since May. And constantly looking at how we can continue, but that's probably one of the best we've had as far as total vacancies in a while. So we've got that down considerably. And like I said, we're processing every day. So we are looking now, as we start to look at the enrollments in our schools, and we possibly shift personnel from one school to another, or eliminate them depending on what the needs are. So that could further reduce our number of vacancies. So it'll be somewhat fluid between now and the next week or two. And as you know, we continue to receive students even all the way up through Labor Day, typically.
And how many do we go over? Classroom sizes, how many are we currently, do we go over, a teacher, I'm specifically talking about pupil-teacher ratio, and according to our waiver, at one time we said, because we don't have to get it approved from the state, but how many do we tend to, what's our class sizes?
Well,
in terms of,
again, we're in the process of balancing those out, which will take place over the next couple of weeks, but typically our average, we sit somewhere around, I think around 22 for elementary at the top level. Isn't that about right, James? You've been working with that? Here.
We are right around 20 or below in K2.
Correct.
3-5, we're in the 23 to 24. Nothing is higher than that. Most are lower than that.
Secondary would be on average what about?
We'll know more tomorrow after tomorrow's class count.
okay,
But we're not over in
okay.
any average in middle or high.
Of the parameters you all set. Of the parameters that you all set.
Yeah.
Those are some good numbers. Right, yeah, those
Well,
are good
we've
numbers.
consciously made a decision to keep the class sizes particularly small in K through 2, because that's where the research says you really benefit from class size, more so than above that, but K1, 2 is certainly where we try to really focus on keeping those even as lower than, yeah.
It
It's like
is
below the state.
well below the state.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a good,
below the state. Representative Chambers?
No, she asked actually the
Okay.
same question I was about to ask.
Are there any more questions? Madam Chair, that ends the personnel report.
Thank you, ma'am. Finally, Finance Committee, Ms. Williams.
You have your Finance Committee items before you. They're all fairly standard. 10.01 is the budget adjustment, moving items from the general to the actual appropriate accounts. Are there any questions? 10.02 is your preliminary financial statements, the SPLOST revenue, investment revenue, and your prelim SPLOST expenditures report. These are all standard. Any questions? I see none. 10.03 is the exception A and B, 7 items for textbook, films, sides, videotapes, newspapers, etc. Are there any questions on any of those? Seeing none, 10.04 are your 2 items for purchase exception D, renewals. This is, these are both IT, lease and maintenance, and licenses. Questions? 10.05 is your purchase exception F, which is purchase from existing competitively bid contracts from state and federal government. These are the ones that are bid at a different level than ours, and we just jump on those coattails and ride it. Any questions? There's 3 items. Seeing none, 10.06 are 3 items for exception E, additional purchases like equipment to existing POs if such orders are in excess of 15,000. Any items, questions? These are your Chromebooks, it looks like, and the licenses that go with it. Excuse me. 10.07 is purchase exception G. These are professional services, especially specialized professional services that we appreciate being able to attract into our district. There's 11 items. Are there any questions? Dr. Edmondson?
Just a question. What are the schools that are targets this year for the arts programs? Just curious.
Which item are you on?
Exception G. It's the approve the purchase request for the River Center for an increased spending limit.
Which item is that, Mike?
Well,
It's at the bottom?
Oh, okay, it's
6?
under.
Yeah, 6. Okay, number 6, 125 for professional services. Is there someone who can, I
just
can
wondered
get
what
to
the
it real
schools
quick?
were.
There's no such
Dr.
thing as
Smith, I don't know if
quick
you have a
in this.
listing of the schools.
Catapult.
Okay. Yeah, it was just this one thing though that I was not objecting at all to it. I just wondered what schools are.
Would you repeat the question, please?
Sure. My question was regarding the River Center program. What schools are the target schools this year?
Okay, so last year what we did was for Title IV, we budgeted enough for all the elementary schools to make it open to them,
Okay.
and 28 of the 32 participated.
Okay.
This year we're doing the same thing. We're upping the amount a little bit, and we're working with them on, last year's focus more on well-rounded students. This year they're bringing in some safe and healthy aspects, so things that'll address more of the PBIS focuses as well,
Okay.
but infused through the arts. So when all is said and done, we'll budget enough for 35 schools, and then anyone who beyond that can just use school allocations to do additional ones.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think it's something that ought to be in all the schools. So I heard you say it's 28 of 32 last year, and I was thinking, my immediate thought was, well, how come they get to opt out of this? This is very valuable. But yeah, it's a good deal. Thank you.
And one of the things we're proud about, the River Center is very adaptable. One of the things they've done is the focus is on working with the health and bullying, anti-bullying. So they're going to be focusing on, I think, a puppetry or something like that, if I'm not
Oh, yeah.
mistaken, puppetry with the anti-bullying for elementary school, I think was one of the focus areas.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, yeah.
Oh, no.
The Center for Puppetry Arts, yeah. I
All right,
talked to her
thank
the
you.
other day.
Thank you. Is that your question?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike.
You're clear, I'm clear, yeah.
Any other? Seeing none, that takes us to 10.08. This is your sole source and volatile purchases of your oil, floor care product, and postage. Any questions? Seeing none, we move to 10.09. These are your 3 budget adjustments for GSBA, K-12 curriculum, and Chattahoochee Valley Libraries. Any questions? Seeing none, that takes us to 10.10, which is purchase order increases. 2 items they'll be recommending for approval. That's Media General Operations and Smith Raymond for automated logic controls, and Columbus Roofing. Questions, and that takes us to 10.11 and 10.12, your standard reports, with particular attention to 10.12, which is our wonderful donors. There are 2.5 pages of donations this month for a total cash donation of over $56,000. We thank all of our partners and all of our individuals and all of our corporations and our partners in education and everybody who do make those contributions all month. They benefit all our students. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. And superintendent's update?
Well, a lot of it's been covered, I believe, but first of all, I want to thank everyone for their patience as we've gotten started with a very good school year thus far. I appreciate Transportation's efforts to address some of the concerns. We've actually received positive emails from parents and from staff members. But again, we ask for their patience because we have an older bus fleet, so we can experience mechanical failures or traffic congestion as we continue to see construction going on on many of our roadways. So we do appreciate everyone's patience as we move forward, but it has been a much smoother start, and I credit that to our extensive planning and coordination that was done over the last several months by our transportation department and others throughout the system. We've worked very collaboratively together on that effort. Yeah. Now, I will tell you, I commended him on it, and he told me, in your words, he said, well, thanks for congratulating me on a great play, but we still got to win the Super Bowl. So, so we're still in the game, but we're winning play by play. But I do appreciate that. I've been out at about 21 schools over the last couple of days, visiting schools, and very upbeat and positive. The parents have been very supportive. The kids have come to school. Usually when you go to elementary on that first day, you see a lot of crying children and that kind of thing. I only saw one, so that was kudos to everyone preparing for that. We did address, I think, the reduction in assessments. I think we talked about the hygiene project. So I think, did I cover all? Oh, teacher evaluations, again, I don't know what else there is to discuss about that's an administrative function. We are maintaining where we are with that going forward as we have in the past because that's part of our monitoring process that we're required, that we've taken as part of our advanced ed, taken very seriously. So we are maintaining that as we discussed last month. Let's see, on top of that then, the other thing I just wanted to say too is that as we start going forward, these days are very hot, and I'm asking everyone to really be conscious. We are monitoring advisories, making sure that our athletes, our marching bands, all that are properly hydrated, but we do ask that parents, if you are parents who are expected to be at your bus stops, please help us by being there 10 minutes early, if you would, because we don't want to let students off, obviously, without appropriate parental supervision. And especially in these hot days, we just don't need people out in the sun anymore than they absolutely have to be. So help us with that in terms of monitoring the heat index each day. And, of course, with athletic events upcoming, we start football season between now and the next board meeting. So invite everybody to come out and support your local teams and then the various sports that will be taking place, our band students, and we got a great start to the year. I will tell you, we opened up with around right at 31,000 students, which is only short of about 300 students from the end of school last year. So with continuing to enroll students, we anticipate going over where we were at the end of the school year last year. And again, we'll continue to enroll students. Do want to remind students, and parents, we enroll students all year. All year. So it's important to enroll them as early as possible so you can avoid those long lines here in the school system. And I want to thank and commend our police department. They too have had a very good start to the school year this year, being very present and very evident in our schools as I've gone out and visited those. So I appreciate the emphasis and support they're giving to our schools. So again, thanks to our board members for your support, and look forward to a great school year.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Dr. Edmondson?
Yes, and thank you for the update. And I will say again, much like I often said on testing, that is, while I appreciate the fact that teacher evaluations are indeed an administrative function, the state of Georgia has seen fit to only require 3. And given that if teachers could accomplish having 3 satisfactory evaluations, I'm not sure what the utility of continuing to assess would be. If it is to get principals into the classrooms, as you once said to me, then I would say maybe somebody needs to go see if the principals are in their office or in the classrooms, but not evaluate the teachers anymore.
Well, the only thing I'll say about that is we are rolling out a pretty large initiative with the personalized learning that I think is important for our principals, assistant principals, all of our teachers to be a part of that process. And frankly, as a teacher, I would always welcome a teacher or a principal to come into my classroom. I don't think it's so much a matter of being evaluated as much as we're all part of the same team, and everybody has a different function of the team, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Lewis. And on the note about early registration, I did notice that parents did come out early, and so if we can just continue to promote that each year, so that we can not have the long lines here. And hopefully we'll eventually get to pre-registering in May and online. So we're looking forward to some update coming from that particular aspect. All right, board members, did you have something else?
Well, I think there was a question about the online registration process, where we were with that.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
And I can update, I don't know if Mr. Scott or...
Mr. Scott is prepared to give a brief update.
A brief update.
Okay. Brief. 10,000-foot level brief.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Just want to let you know that a committee has been started. We're going to do some visits to some school districts that are our size within the next week or so to visit so we can see what other districts are doing. We're really looking forward to going forth with this so we can get this ready for the next school year. So we will be in touch to let you know what our next steps are going to be, but we are moving forward with it right now.
Thank you
That
so
is
very
terrific.
much. Good
Terrific,
job.
terrific.
Glad to hear that. All right, board members, we do need to go into executive session for a property.
Second.
All right. We don't vote, but y'all can vote. Yeah. All right.
I'm Bernadette Stannis, Thelma from the TV show Good Times, and you are watching CCG TV in Columbus, Georgia.
Hello and welcome to Learning with the Dogs. I'm Rhea Bentley. We have a great show planned for you today, so sit back and relax and we'll be right back.